Good afternoon from Barcelona. As she said, I'm a data journalist working at elDiario.es, which is an Spanish digital news site. In El Diario, we have a data unit, which is formed by the editor, Raúl Sánchez, and my colleague Yuli Jara, and me. The three of us work together with the rest of the newsroom, and we tackle a lot of topics. We are not a thematic section, but a technical team. So someday we talk about politics, another day about economy, education, health, climate, a variety of topics. Mm, and how we work? Well, we work all together with the rest of the newsroom. We are part of the newsroom. So sometimes it's the data team who has the idea or the hypothesis for a topic, or sometimes is a journalist in the newsroom, the one who comes to us with an idea or with a specific data table that they want to visualize. I think it's important that we state this before of how we work in El Diario, how is our team, so you understand how we use Datawrapper, which are the benefits of using Datawrapper for us. As you may know, in a newsroom, there's a lot of things happening at the same time. So time is a very valuable resource. Mm, We use Datawrapper a lot because for us it's fast and simple. We must solve all these requests from the newsroom, but also we want to have time for our own projects of analysis and visualization. So as we know the functionalities of the tool, and also we've taken some decisions about design before. So when we do this, when we make these charts, we already know how to make them, and we can save a lot of time. In this short talk, I will show you um, some of these situations when we use Datawrapper in our team, and also some of the considerations we've taken into account before. So all our charts have a familiar look, and this also allows us to save time. It's true that we don't use Datawrapper for all of our charts, because sometimes we also like to code them to have more control over some customized elements. But even in those occasions, as you will see later, mm, Datawrapper comes very handy in the workflow. First of all, we use Datawrapper for quick charts. They are simple, effective, and fast. So there's a request from the newsroom. eh, They have a data table, and the only decision we have to take is which chart type to use. Maybe a line chart, maybe a bar chart, maybe a dot plot. Well, when we've taken this decision, the rest is very fast because we have examples of what to do, and we have design decisions taken. So with no code, just using the process you've seen before in the other talk, just using Datawrapper, we can solve them very fast. Also, we use Datawrapper for automated charts because, as you may know, there's this API in Datawrapper which allows you to edit charts, to update data, to make different changes without even opening the website. So, for example, in this case, I'm showing here, mm, it's about the Euribor. We usually, every time the European Central Bank makes an announcement, decision, uh, uh, a new decision, we have to update this chart. So we just go into R, this language of analysis. We update the data, and we duplicate and update the chart without even touching the website. So this is even faster than to create a chart in just couple minutes. Well, it depends on the data we are handling, but it's a very, very, very quick process, and it has saved us a lot of time. Also, another occasion we use Datawrapper is for drafting. As I said before, maybe not all the time we use Datawrapper because we want some more specific charts, or we want to give them a style eh, that we've worked before. But before making the effort of coding this new chart, maybe we use Datawrapper. So we are doing the analysis in R, and then we update the data to Datawrapper just to see how it looks. And when we are okay with the visual type we chosen, then we go to code this chart. So again, time saver, Datawrapper. And related to this drafting functionality we've given to the wrapper, we also use it for visual analysis. Maybe we have a very big database with lots of data, and we make lots of charts that maybe won't be published. It's just to see visually, to visually analyze the data. We find it very handy to put them in Datawrapper, our first results or first ideas, so we can see them very quickly. We also can share them with other colleagues in the newsroom, so they can see visually what are we trying to, which point we are making, and maybe all this data, maybe we don't use it. For example, this, I forgot to say it before, this is uh, an analysis we did about education in Spain. We did lots and lots and lots of charts analyzing how the the education level of parents affected the education level of their children. And we did all these charts you are seeing here to choose which was the best piece of data that was transmitting this idea. And after was when we finally choose this was the indicator that we were going to use, and we coded the final chart. But during all the process of visual analysis and then drafting of the final idea, we use Datawrapper for this project. And at the end, also sometimes Datawrapper makes it for all the article. It was an article about the crowds filling Madrid city center before Christmas. Um, it was a thing that everybody was talking about, like, okay, yes, there's a lot of people in central Madrid, but nobody was putting numbers to it. So we used Data Wrapper first to show line charts about the evolution in a normal, in a usual day, work day of the people in central Madrid, and how it changed during the Christmas days. Also, a map of where were the people from coming from to visit the city center. Also, a column chart showing the difference among a normal day and a crowded day. And all of these charts were ready using Datawrapper because it has many, many, many different types of charts, and we usually we very often use them. So after I showed you a little bit around our data unit about how we use Datawrapper, I also wanted to complement this idea with what we consider when we create these Datawrapper charts. So we use them a lot of times, but we want to have a unique, a family, a brand, style, no? Even though they are data wrapper charts, there's ways to make them uh, look more personal to you. So all your projects or all the articles from your news group or from your investigative group, they look all the same. These are some of the tips I would say. Maybe there's some things you want to think about. For example, we've taken some decisions about chart design. For example, when we use a line chart, we use steps in the evolution when there's many data points, or we use the straight lines with dots when there's not so many. This was a design decision we've taken before. So now every time we are making a new chart that it's a line chart, we know that if it's a chart with lots of numbers, with lots of data points, we will use the steps. And on the other side, if it has a few, we will use the other the straight lines. Also, we've taken decisions about colors. We have a color palette of our own categorical colors, what to use when it's a positive, negative relation. We have colors for political parties. We have colors for gender. And we also have some other palettes color palettes that we use only in special projects. So even though all of them are like elDiario's colors, it may be here in Spain, if someone sees the chart standing alone without the article, maybe it can feel, right, can remember them that it's an elDiario chart because it's using these same colors all the time. And these couple of decisions, again, they save a lot of time. We've taken time to prepare them, to think about them, to think about the chart style, to think about the color palette. And then now, without with these decisions, we can work faster. Also, sometimes we try to repeat the same chart during all the article. I don't mean that we repeat the same data, but the same indicator. For example, in this article, we were showing a percentage of population that they had problems to pay uh, their um, their rent, but we want to show also the total percentage of people in each group, in each region, in each income group uh, that were renting. So we use this style of chart and we were repeating it through all the article. So, which the percentage of people who had problems paying the rent, but also the rest of the people who were renting. And this idea made it easier for the audience to understand because they only have to understand the chart one time, and then um, every time during the article they find the same chart type, the same format, so it's easier for them to read the results. And the last design decisions we've made is that we use a lot of annotations, sometimes on the charts, as you can see in these ones. So we write a lot of things so the audience can read the charts easier. And also we put in the legend on the subtitles. So with text, we can help the audience to read them. And as I said before, these are decisions that if you take them beforehand, every time you mm, have to make a new chart for your team, it will be very fast to tackle because Datawrapper is simple. It has lots and lots of functionalities. Have time to experiment with them, but after that, just stick to them and you will save a lot of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Thanks for sharing that with us. We have some questions here from the audience. We have one from Leon. I work in a very small newsroom. Often, many colleagues don't think about a chart or map for visualize their story. In your opinion, how can increase acceptance for data visualization?
Yeah, I know this can be a handicap in the first time, eh, but after, when they know they can use you, you will have a lot of work. Usually now for us is the other hand. So people have lots of ideas with data, so we have a lot of work. But maybe in the beginning, it can be yourself. So you see a story that they are working. If you know that they are working on it, or after they publish, you can go to them and give to them the idea about which data to use, which sources there are of data, and how it would appear in a chart. And I'm sure after a little bit of training of sources and after seeing some examples of charts and maps, they will come to you very fast.
Thank you. One last question that we have here from Ria. What other tools or packages do you use to code? Which one would you recommend?
As I explained a little bit, we mainly stick to these two. We use Datawrapper a lot for for all types of charts. And only in special occasions we use D3, which is a library from JavaScript, but you have to code a lot. In that, it's in Datawrapper is very easy. You don't have to know to code. And also for mapping, we use Mapbox, which we also link to the D3, because sometimes we have a lot of regions and we can visualize them better with these Mapbox and D3. It depends on the final chart we want to achieve and also the time we have. Because if we don't have time, Data Wrapper is the best option.
Thank you. We have, I think, one last question from Christy T. Do you have best practices regarding the number of annotations for optimal mobile display?
Well, I don't think it's a number of annotations because they can be bigger or smaller. I know in Data Wrapper, there's this option of showing them as a key. So sometimes the annotation that you have in desktop is on the chart and in mobile is on the notes space. We don't use it a lot. We only use if there's one or two annotation because also reading a lot of annotations in the bottom of the chart can be um can be a little bit tricky and it's not that easy. But sometimes we have annotation just for this desktop, annotation just for mobile, which are written maybe with more abbreviations. So we can have the same number of annotations in desktop and mobile, but they are not the same. We use abbreviations or more numbers so we can fit all of them in the same chart.
All right. I think those were all the questions. Victoria, again, thank you so much. Thank you so very much for having joined us and for also telling us and give us all these tips that you do at elDiario.es. And congratulations on your work. Thanks.
Thank you very much for having me here. And I will be in the rest of the conference because it will be very, very interesting.
Then we'll see you there.
Bye.
Thank you.